This is going to be the 8th time Melbourne and Richmond have played on Anzac Day Eve. A little bit of a fun stat there, William. Introduced in 2015, I guess people would love to know, Max, whether you think you'll get up and about for that and whether you'll be playing.
Yeah, I think I will.
You reckon you will?
Yeah, it's 4.5 weeks will be that day because I did it on a Friday. So yeah, 4.5 weeks.
Round 2.
Round 2, when I technically didn't play that game, so I've only played one game this year.
Oh, that's right, because that was really early,
yeah,
wasn't
it was really early on. Stayed in the rooms and sooked for a little bit.
That's right, you did a little bit of sooking down in the rooms before you came up to the
made
bench.
my way back up.
Just as you thought maybe you had a 12-month injury. I mean, toughen up.
But I've got 12 months down to 4 weeks.
Well done.
Yeah, so
Ben
it's
Brown
still touch and go, Marty.
Is
Still,
it?
I've got to train.
You've got to train.
Yeah.
But you get through training and you're
Then
away. Ben Brown will be making his return, as will Jake Lever. They're 3 big ins if indeed you get up for Anzac Eve.
Correct. Yeah, those 3. And then we lose Charlie Spargo. He got concussed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 3 in, 1 out. Obviously, we've got to find another 2 people to maybe miss. That's if all 3 of us get picked. My role's sort of become redundant now that Brodie's dominated in the ruck. I've got to try and find somewhere else to play.
Are you suggesting that you have to win your spot back in the team?
Potentially.
I wouldn't have thought so. What a month, though. Williams put the month ahead for me here. You got Richmond, very winnable.
Yep.
North, I mean, good luck. Gold Coast and Hawthorn. It's not a bad month of footy ahead for the Melbourne Football Club.
Well, it's a very even competition this year, Marty.
Beautifully said, Max. Beautifully said.
We come up against Bombers on the weekend, and we got it handed to us. To be fair, the scoreline was a bit friendly. It probably should have been worse than that. So yeah, we got to bounce back. Richmond, I had them in my top 4 at the start of the year, so I'm presuming they're going to.
They've got to come good, haven't they?
Yeah, they're going to get going at some point. And then the next 3, Hawthorn, North, Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Well, there's Gold Coast and Gold Coast. We saw Geelong just lost that the other week, so that's a tough game. North, Goldie's 301st game that will be.
Correct.
Brilliant. When you go to the Gold Coast, where do you stay?
Not Surfers, Broadie, I think.
Yeah, right. Would you go to Ripley's, believe it or not? Do you do Cavill Avenue? Is anyone going to that little gun range there and putting a clip into a target?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maisie's still got his theme park pass, so we might go with Steve to the theme parks.
The 3-park super park.
Yeah, well, why not?
Yeah,
if you're up
if
there,
you're there.
if you don't do Wet and Wild, you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Let's talk sling tackles. Taylor Adams and Zach Merritt will both miss Anzac Day after receiving 1-match bans for sling tackles that were both upheld at the tribunal. It's the flavour of the month, quite literally.
Correct.
They're going to knock the sling tackle out of the game, come hell or high water. And I would imagine, if you would agree, as a player, both arms are pinned and your face gets smashed into the turf. No one wants to see that anymore.
No. Is there more sling tackles than normal, or is it we're just finding them a little bit more?
Yeah.
It seems like they're popping up every single game at the moment. So
Well, it was never mentioned 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, but I still think in the last 2 years they've been trying to rule out a couple of those sling tackles.
The big ones.
Yeah, the big ones, and now they seem to be finding more and more and more. Is it us? Are we tackling bad, or is there more microscope on the actual tackling?
I think there's a lot more microscope on the actual tackling.
I think from the discussion we had a while back about concussion, I think it's good. I do think sling tackles can be extremely dangerous.
But you're running out of tackling options.
You are, especially when there's a lot of speed and power in the game at the moment. Athletes are getting more and more powerful. I seem to be going the other way, but there seems to be some guys that are getting more quicker. And it's a much quicker game at the moment. So
and a lot of it would be momentum, wouldn't it? If a player's spinning and you're holding him, then suddenly you're both spinning if that guy's strong.
Yeah, the Geelong fella last week, Gary Rowan, his one seemed like a lot of momentum was involved in that. They were actually going to challenge it, and then he was getting dropped, so they didn't challenge it.
Yeah, you'll be right.
We'll just take it. But there is a lot of momentum, speed, and power involved. But I also agree from the other side, concussion is getting bad in our sport, and that probably is the way to go.
Do you think umpires have a role to play in this? Because Joey Montagna on the midweek rub.
Oh, the midweek rub.
That's on listener
What
as well.
what time's the midweek
Comes
rub?
out on Wednesday.
Does it?
Yeah.
Just podcast.
Yeah, Daisy and Purple are on that
They
as
should
well.
put that on air.
But he said that the umpires should be whistling for ball ups quicker so that we don't see these situations where players are being held and then trying to stop the contest by bringing them to the ground.
pre the sling.
But also pre-prior opportunity?
Well, that's the thing. It's a very fine margin between holding the ball and a ball up Do you think that would have some sort of impact?
Yeah, it's a miss from Joey.
It's a miss from Joey.
They said that they were going to crack down on holding the ball and call those ones quicker. Do you think the timeliness has some sort of impact if those tackles are clinging on for too long?
There is, in an extreme case, you're probably right. There probably is the one that's been held for 5 seconds and then he slings him. I think that's the one that's slowly getting out of the game, though. I don't think Taylor Adams and Zach Merritt's looked like that. I think Zach Merritt's didn't even look like a sling. It was more of a drive into the ground. But there is an element of potentially umpiring could come into it, but not from my point of view.
How's your anxiety pre-match? Because former Carlton and Giants player Dylan Buckley's revealed the intense anxiety he would experience before games, vomiting, intrusive thoughts. I hoped that I would be injured and not have to play for 6 weeks. That's a terrible head state to be in for a professional sports person or for anyone who's trying to execute at a high level.
I'm glad there was a follow-up. You started the sentence, how's your anxiety, then paused for a long time.
I was just checking in.
I thought we were going to go deep for a second.
I was just checking in.
Thank you. No, look, it can be quite stressful game day. We do all this training and all this work around 22 2-hour games. And for people that are on the fringe, sometimes that can be one game to show what you're worth and could be out the door straight after. So I'm not too bad. I like to stay nice and calm, but to do that, I actually have measures to go talk to players that aren't playing, go talk to staff to make sure that I'm not.
So you have a strategy around how to get yourself through that pre-game phase that involves different things that are cues for you to just help you stay calm.
Basically, the opposite to people getting fired up. So the ones that throw the ball against the wall, dive 5,000 times. I don't touch a footy.
Really?
Yeah, I try and stay nice and calm, sit in the back room of the and talk to the staff, talk to guys that aren't playing that day because they're actually
calm.
Yeah. And that seems to help me. There is times, I remember Neil Craig, who coached us in 2013 or 14, I can't remember which one, he sent me and Jack Watts to another change room because we were too jovial in the change room.
Oh, he didn't like it.
He didn't like it.
So me and
Jack Watts were throwing a tennis ball to each other in the back change room at Marvel because we were way too jovial.
Like a detention or something.
The
Didn't
funny
work
thing
for
is,
Jack, though, did it?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, Jack, he might have had to switch on. But I've kept my jovial sort of pre-game, and Neil Craig's no longer there, so I think I won that.
Yeah, good win for you. Melbourne v Richmond, this is the one that interests you the most. Anzac Eve, 7:25 kickoff. They've made that number up. Melbourne v Richmond. What do you think? Who do you like? What don't you like about it?
They just did a big, a little press release about the fact that there was a time change in the last 5 days about this game, and it's gone back 5 minutes. So it was 7:20.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't know what's happened to make it go back to 7:25, but something's gone amiss.
Well, you got to get the trumpeter out there.
Yes, correct.
It is a spectacular pre-game.
It is.
Anzac Eve.
I obviously haven't played in the other one, but the Collingwood-Essendon game, but I am quite bullish. I think it's quite cool, this game.
Yeah, it's good.
It sort of appeals to the millennials, trying to get them in and around the Anzac spirit.
Well, and it's the night before a day off as well, so they can get on the sauce, the young people, which they love.
And on the sauce that night as well.
Yes.
And then, look, we've had some great battles. It's always a close game, Melbourne-Richmond. Like the Collingwood-Essendon game, I think teams normally get up for blockbusters and I can't wait to play in it. I've been awfully close to a horse and their back legs sort of kicking me, so it's quite.
So you've got a bit of the Anzac spirit.
Yeah, it gets a bit gnarly there because as captain, you're at the end of the line, the horse goes straight past you. That's a bit gnarly, but once we get past the horses, I should be fine.
Richmond just don't feel quite right, do they?
I'm going to prepare for their best.
Absolutely, you are.
And their best is very, very, very good. So
it is, and if ever two teams are getting up and about, that's the game. And then Collingwood Bombers on Anzac Day, which has just become such a fantastic feature of the AFL season. That'll be an absolute belter.
Is it top of the table, Clash?
Second and third, I think, but both top four, which I think is the first in about 15 years.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to watch this one.
As a player, is that a game that you would always watch?
Yeah. Purely because there's not much else to do on that day, especially as a footballer. Most other people would be on the sauce.
Yeah, you'll be in recovery mode.
Yeah, we'd be in recovery mode and would have a game 5 days later. So, I'll definitely watch that.
Good luck, mate. I hope you get up through training today and we see you on Monday night. And if we do, all the best.
Thank you. Hope that this will age well if I get through training.
Yeah, you'll be great. You'll be great.